No, that's great. I love that our listeners are engaging. If I make some more false statements today, maybe we can get even more engagement. So
There you go.
yeah, I like this.
All right. You were called out. Well, so let's get started.
Counter to intelligence.
Welcome to Counter to Intelligence. I'm Ken, and with me is the guy that's never wrong.
Except for my last comment, but I am Tom here, skeptical of everyone, including today of myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Because a listener called you out and
Yeah,
you apologized before the little song came on. So
I
we
do.
recorded your apology. So you don't need to do it again.
Yeah, but apparently I was wrong. Apparently, lots of people watched the moon landing. So
Yeah. Or did they? According to Buzz Aldrin, they didn't. They saw an animation of it.
that's if you have
So
not seen that episode, go back before you
yeah, go
watch this
back.
one.
Yeah, because that's about the moon landing. Now we're diving into what is the flipping moon.
What is it?
And you would think
No.
that this would not be much of a conspiracy, but there are a few weird conspiracies about it. So normally I just go through and I just belt all them out. And then I say, what do you think about that? I thought I'd do it a little bit differently and we'll go one at a time because there's not like a ton of them. But,
Right.
obviously there's the cheese one, which I
Yes.
think we can all say that's not real because cheese is a dairy product and there's no space cow.
That is the
And
perfect logic to dispel that with.
so
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm debunking the space cow and the moon is not cheese. I mean, do you agree with that?
I agree. There is no space cow.
Yeah. And because I feel like it would, like the heat of the sun would melt the cheese and we'd have cheese globbing down on the planet
Right. We would
at
have
some
more
point.
fondue.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would be
Which that'd be
delicious.
us. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Wonder what
plants
kind.
should be tastier.
And it has to hold. So I believe it would be Swiss cheese, which is one of my favorite cheeses.
It is one of it that honestly, I wish it were true. We
Yeah,
would
I
have a
do.
much different diet.
Yeah,
As
I would. Yeah, we'd all be a lot fatter.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the Earthling diet. So that's unfortunate that we cannot get a source of dairy. We should start a conspiracy that there is a planet out there somewhere that has a space cow and they're feeding the, whatever Martian people or whatever
Yeah,
aliens with cheese. But all right.
exactly. Now, so
Hmm.
so let's go to the first because you brought up Martians.
Yeah.
We'll go to this one first.
All right.
There's a couple that go this way, but and the first is that aliens are on the moon, and this theory really took off in the 1820s. A Bavarian astronomer. Sorry, I can't speak. Named Franz, and this is going to be great. I can't speak. I'm about to do some Bavarian name. Franz von Paula Gussenstein
Cool.
claimed to have glimpsed entire cities on the moon with his telescope. He
Wow.
wrote that the Lunarians, is what he called him, who
Yeah.
lived there, had built sophisticated buildings, roads, and forts. Most of his colleagues scoffed at his assertions, but he eventually got a small lunar crater named after him. Good for him.
Yeah.
Uh, Meanwhile, a guy named Sir William Herschel, a prominent British astronomer and composer, also thought aliens lived on the moon and made regular observations about the progress of their construction. In 1835, when the New York Sun published a series of fraudulent articles about the supposed existence of life on the moon, it falsely credited Herschel's son, John, a famous astronomer, in his own right with the shocking discovery. John was not happy about that, by
I
the
bet
way.
it was not. I would
But so now, so that's when that first started. But there are still people who say that there are aliens on the moon, uh, and of some kind, or there's beings. In fact, there was a
have.
movie probably 10 years ago. What was I think it's Apollo 14 or Apollo 15 it's called something like that.
Okay.
And people can look it up. It was a horror film. And basically it was the story of the last Apollo mission that was never talked about because this alien got on board the lunar vessel and killed the astronauts.
Wow.
And that is why, and it was some sort of weird oily, if I remember right, thing. But
Huh.
what are your thoughts about creatures being on the moon or aliens of that
I mean,
kind.
I doubt it, right? I mean, the whole mystery, I guess, is it's the dark side of the moon is what I have heard is
Yeah.
where they're supposedly. Yeah.
What's over there? Yeah.
What's over there?
Yeah.
Nobody knows, I guess,
Yeah,
except
because
for the guy with the telescope,
which is interesting that the moon rotates around the Earth,
right?
and yet it's always the one side that faces the Earth as it goes
Yes.
around. So,
Which is unusual as a planet, right? We see the Earth.
the other planets that doesn't happen. The moons
Right.
orbit and do their own rotation.
Yeah.
But this seems to do this weird thing where it stays.
It's really weird.
We might hit a flat Earth theory here in a bit, just because it's interesting. But so that's just a weird. The rotation of the moon is very odd to me.
Yeah.
And
the size is unusual.
Yeah.
So the size is what, 400 times, 1/400th of the size of the sun.
Mm-hmm.
The sun is exactly 400 times away from the Earth. So they look, and they cut. So eclipses, that doesn't happen with that precisely where it's just covering it. So you get the ring. That's really unusual in space.
Exactly. Yeah. No other planet has solar eclipses like that.
Yeah.
None. And or lunar eclipses.
Right.
And the fact that it's exactly the right distance that it can have a lunar eclipse.
Yeah.
That Earth is exactly the right distance, right size to cause the red shade. Yeah. And that's all of you believe in the round Earth and all that.
Right. Oh, yes, the round earthers. Yeah.
The globalists and the rounders. The big bad Earth people, big back earthers. So
I didn't know all these names. This is
I'm just making some up.
Oh,
so that's here. So I think we both are saying that there's no creatures on the moon, like on the surface, except maybe on the dark side, because
could be the dark side. We haven't seen it. We can't rule it out.
But seems unlikely. Seems unlikely because also there's no oxygen in space,
right?
So it'd have to be some kind of weird creature that
like
could live without oxygen,
right?
Yeah, and I don't know that anything can.
I don't know if it can. I mean, bacteria, right? I guess.
Anaerobic.
Yeah,
but would that really be a creature on the moon? I don't know. And that was kind of theory on the Apollo 17. It was like not necessarily. It was like a weird amoeba type of thing.
Oh, gotcha, like the blob.
Yeah. So there. So, but this kind of then moves us into the next realm of moon theories of what is the moon, and that is the moon is a hollow spacecraft. So maybe there aren't aliens outside it; they're on the inside.
Wow.
And this goes back. So there's a bunch of science fiction book. Probably the most famous one that was written was by H.G. Wells, The First Men on the Moon. And he talks about a hollow moon and that there's inhabited by aliens.
Yeah.
In 1972, scientists took this seemingly whimsical premise a step further, proposing that the moon is actually a shell like alien spacecraft built by extraterrestrials with superior technology and intelligence. According to astronomers, the moon, though, is enigmatic as far as celestial bodies goes and couldn't maintain its mass and gravitational field if it lacked a dense core. But there are some videos where they show like something hitting the moon and making a gong sound. You can look at. I've seen. I don't know. See, I didn't want to bring it up because I can't tell if it's legit or if it's somebody like me just making a funny video. Like, look, it gonged. But again, there was a movie not too long ago on Netflix about basically it was a hollow moon.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fell out of orbit and was like, it is really ridiculous. Like the moon came super close to the ground and they had a duck and, because the moon was coming around and
dodge it. Yeah.
Well, they had to keep dodging because as it was rotating, it's getting closer and closer to the earth and it was messing up the oxygen and sad moment when, the one actor who, suffocated because he gave his children the oxygen and he didn't take it because he loved them. Because the moon, sad moment.
Dramatic, yeah.
here, here. So
Do you
they're
think the moon dodging is going to be on the new presidential fitness like test that you do in elementary school? I feel like
I hope so. It
they should
should be
add it.
because you don't
Yeah.
know when that might happen where we may have to duck
Right.
from a
You got to be
giant
prepared.
celestial object coming down and hitting us.
Hitting us just but only kind of skimming the surface, right? Not
Yeah.
actually gliding fully.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Impressive.
go. Yeah. They and I don't think I took out some trees and stuff, but not
Yeah.
like maybe a mountain. But
Yeah, we didn't need it.
I think Everest got saved so people could still climb it. But kind of would have been nice if it took Everest down, then all of us could climb it because then it's only half the size. But the moon
Yeah,
didn't do that
that'd be
for
good.
us.
Yeah, what's wrong with the moon? Why is it anti like having me mount St. Everest? I mean, it's
Yeah.
yeah.
So what are your thoughts there? Hollow moon,
I
that it's
don't.
a spacecraft of some kind or a satellite
Yeah,
that is, keeping tabs on us by aliens.
I mean, and now that I think of it, the craters are kind of vaguely resemble the Death Star, a little,
Yeah.
indentations in there. But no, I don't think that's real. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I don't know why, if you were an advanced civilization and you were designing a spacecraft, why would you make it just round and look like a rock? Is that like camouflage?
Well, why did Darth Vader and the Emperor do it?
Oh, why did they? I don't know the answer. Like I thought,
Maybe,
yeah.
maybe they got the idea from the other aliens and they're just like, yeah, that one has too many bumps on it. Let's make it more smooth
Uh,
and have little lines and just one little like 3-foot hole that maybe they could shoot a missile into to destroy it. Because
that's the design. You got to have one weakness kind of
yeah.
intentionally. Yeah,
Well, did you see Rogue One, the movie
I
Rogue
did.
One?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they explain why that was there, that
Yeah.
engineer did it on purpose. And he was like, in hopes that the rebels would have a crack shot. And I don't know if that made it even more believable or less believable.
That's the thing. Yeah, they
That
were
the engineer's
sabotaged from
like,
the beginning.
I'm gonna make it the size of a womp rat. And it's like,
Yeah.
and that was like, and I was like, why does everything have to be like they're like Americans? They refuse to use the metric system. They'll use anything to measure
Anything.
other than the metric. Womp
Yeah.
rats. It's
Yeah.
10 womp rats wide. But
Oh my
like,
gosh.
space Americans. That's what they were. No. So you're gonna nix the hollow earth
Yeah, I can't
or
buy
hollow
it.
moon. Hollow moon. Well, hollow earth is a whole nother one we got to get
Yeah.
into.
I
That's
don't
a
think
whole nother
I think just the gravitational pull alone, like if it were really hollow, it wouldn't be able to control our tides as much. So,
Yeah, because it has to have some kind of core. But I don't really understand the gravitational because, like I said, it doesn't really spin. So is it like a
right.
magnetic core inside there or what?
I don't get that either. Yeah, I don't get the lack of spinning. That's kind of unusual.
Yeah, it's bugging you now. It's
It
gonna
is,
bug
it's
you.
been bugging me for a while. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
why. Do you
yeah,
think we could go up there and just kind of like, with the basketball, you just, if you're trying to like spin it on your finger, we just kind of
yeah.
go up there and push it a little bit.
Now, yeah, we could try that.
All right. This episode, maybe next week, we'll
Yeah, yeah.
live.
We'll see if we can get on there.
Yeah.
But now here's the other one. This goes into flat Earth, which someday we will go down this road,
We
but
need
not
some.
yet.
No.
Now, one of the theories about the moon is that in flat Earth world, or plane, in flat Earth plane. I don't know if I can say world,
Hey,
but
well,
in the flat Earth realm, they say that the moon is a reflection, like a negative of the Earth. So when you look
oh,
up and you see the craters and the design, it is a
yeah.
negative of what we see on the Earth. And they say if you look, and I've seen it, and it's for me, it's one of those. I mean, where like sometimes you'll look at something and you see a face, like you see the face on the man on the moon,
Yeah.
like so you see a face, but our eyes are trained to see that.
Yes.
And so like our mind looks for things to make sense. So we see faces, we see that.
Right.
And so what happened is I'd never thought of it, but then when I saw the videos on it, you look at it and then you do actually see it because now your mind's thinking about it, I think.
Right.
But maybe it is real. I don't know. But they say it's a reflection. So on the inner circle, you see like the Earth. You see all the continents. You see America,
Right.
South America, and as a negative. Then it expands, and you're seeing the rest of the Earth outside of the ice walls. And so that's their thought, is that the moon is a reflection of
Right.
a negative reflection of the earth. I hope I'm saying this right, because I don't want to upset flat earthers. I don't
Right.
want to
No.
upset anybody. I'm just like, I'm trying to explain it as best as I could figure from watching this. What are your thoughts? Do you think the moon is like, I'm trying to understand how a negative reflection would work? Like a reflection, yes, but a negative reflection.
I,
Like,
I don't. So what would be reflecting though? It's a big mirror up there. That's I don't.
yeah, that's what they're kind of, I guess that's what they're kind of saying. It's like a mirror-esque type of thing,
So the moon is a mirror, but how did the
but a
mirror
negative
get up
mirror.
there? But like a negative mirror.
So
So
like if you looked at it, you would look ugly.
well,
So,
obviously, yes.
and if you said who's the fairest on the wall, it'd be like, not you, fatty, because it's a negative reflection.
That's true. And like George Clooney probably looks like me in reverse.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And then George would just cry.
he's
He's like,
very
I thought
emotional
I
about
looked
it.
like
Yeah.
Cary Grant, but no, you don't. You look like Tom.
It's gonna
And
ruin
you're
his
lucky to
career.
look like Tom.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, that's why I get all the Hollywood,
Yeah.
agents coming after me. So
Yeah.
yeah. No, I don't know. I can't imagine that that makes sense either because the negative, like I have a lot of questions about what would cause a negative reflection.
Well, they also, I think, and again, I don't want to flat earth people mad at me, but uh they also believe it's its own light source and it's not a reflection of the sun's
Oh,
light.
okay. So that's the other theory is that so it's
So
just a
then with
positive
that,
reflection. Yeah.
yeah. And so it would be its own light source
Yeah.
as opposed to a reflection. But and see, that kind of gets in the mirror because we're always taught that the light on the moon is coming from the sun
Right.
and the source, you know.
Yeah.
And have you ever done this? Like, I've done this and it does confuse me. Like, because there are sometimes when the moon is up and the sun is up at the same time, and it's a half moon or a quarter moon, but you see both the sun and the moon, and you see the sun like on one side, and it looks like they're directly looking at each other.
Mhm.
And you're like, well, how is the earth in between that causing it to be a half moon?
Oh yeah,
Have you
that's
ever
the
thought of
shadow.
that?
I have. I think it's the whole shadow, right? That's
Yeah, it's supposed to be the shadow of the earth, but then
yeah.
if they're both up at the same time, how is there that shadow? And that's what confused, because I would think that the sun would be on the other side and the moon would be in a weird rotation. But if they're both in the sky at the same time, how is that? Like, I'm not an astrophysicist, so I can't explain it. I just wonder about that. That's the kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And I know that that is an argument that flat earthers use a lot, is that
That's good. They
because
don't think that's possible.
yeah, and like it obviously is possible, it's happening, but I don't
Right.
understand how.
How? All right.
And I refuse to listen to Neil Tyson or guy whatever.
DeGrasse Tyson. Yeah.
Yeah, I refuse to listen to him.
Yeah. I mean, he's
No.
only a PhD astrophysicist, obviously.
Yeah, but he did a TV show and it had bad graphics and
Oh
I
yeah, we
didn't,
can't.
yeah, so I'm done.
Yeah. It's
So
over. The
yeah.
romance between you and DeGrasse Tyson, he's no
Yeah,
longer
he needs to come
over.
on our show and then maybe I'll start listening to him again. That
Right.
open invitation.
That's yeah. Oh, anytime. If you're out there, come
So
on the
so
show.
you don't think it's a mirror of some kind?
I no, because I mean, then you have to explain the mirror. Like I feel like it's
All
never
right.
ending, the explanations, right? So
All right. But you haven't ruled out that it's its own light source. But don't do that yet, because
yeah.
that is yet another theory beyond the. This goes back to 1965, and there's an interview of a guy named Professor R. Foster, who claimed the moon was made of plasma, not rock, and that landing on it would be impossible. And he claimed this in an interview for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, ABC,
Yeah.
which is not to be confused with the ABC in America. And
Right.
he basically said it's not rock and that the moon, like we wouldn't be able to land on it, which he then fits into the whole did the moon landing happen? Because maybe it is plasma and we never went there. And plasma could be its own light source.
Right. Oh
Now
my
I
God.
don't know.
I
Like,
don't
are
think
you
that's true because well, I guess, I mean, I can see how the belief system goes together because if it is plasma, we could never have landed there.
right? We would
Right.
not have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But since I think we did land there and we've also sent stuff there, right? Like there's a flag you can go look at. So plasma wouldn't.
Well, now I looked that up because we talked about that last week, and they
Yeah.
said that telescopes can't see the flag
Oh,
from
okay.
Earth. So people claim they have, but then I looked up and they said no telescope can get a good, definite thing. But I think you can see the lunar landers
Right.
like that.
Okay.
They're bigger.
They're
Because
bigger.
I can kind of get, because one, it would be like if you're looking up at it, it would be kind of a flat
Right.
thing and a pole, and it would be difficult to see that.
Yeah.
You would have to, I guess, send up a space drone and get a picture of it, which I wonder if they've ever done that. You know,
I
had
wonder
space
too.
drones going around the moon.
We should get some. I'd like to have
Now,
it.
supposedly, the day we recorded our show on the moon landing, Bulgaria or something landed on the moon or said they did. Did you
Oh
read
yeah, and
that?
India has too now, I think.
Yeah, but they managed to get it. Took them 7 days to get there,
Yeah.
which again, come on. Isn't that how long it took them when we did it in the 60s?
Right. Yeah.
Like
Why
we're
not
not any
faster?
more advanced yet. Come
Yeah, we should be
on.
more advanced.
We should get there in like a day or two. Like,
Right.
I get like airplanes, used to take, 12 hours to go from, California to New York. Now you're doing three, you
Right.
know?
Where's the speed boost? We
Yeah.
should
What is
use it.
going on? What's
Yeah.
going on? Question. Now, the last one, and this is my favorite, and I hope we don't get blocked for talking about this.
Uh-oh. Oh, this is
Yeah.
intense.
Well, this, because I'm going to say some words that are trigger words that will, like, people will be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they talked about that. But agency talked about it and he didn't get blocked. So I think we'll
That's
be
good.
okay. So one of the last main theories is that there is a Nazi base on the moon. Now, this goes back after World War II.
Yeah.
Rumors had circulated that German astronauts had traveled to the moon and established a top secret facility there. They even said that Adolf Hitler didn't kill himself, faked his own death, just shot his wife, got on a rocket, and he went and he lived in an underground lunar hideout. Now, they don't say the moon is hollow, but that it's an underground lunar hideout. And connections were drawn also between flying saucer sightings, including the Roswell, New Mexico crash with Nazis, because there is footage of Nazi building like things that looked like UFOs and testing them.
Right.
And that's legit footage. And there's also, there's a science fiction novel called Rocket Ship Galileo by Robert A. Heinlein in 1947 that also kind of made the same claims, but that was science fiction.
Right.
But so they believe the Nazis got to the moon. Now, before you go debunking it, who did we use for the American and the Russian space programs?
Who do we use? Like
Yeah.
in terms of like who built the stuff?
Yeah. Who
NASA and like Lockheed.
yeah,
Boeing.
but
Yeah.
what scientists? Where did the scientists come from?
Oh, probably I'm guessing from Russia.
No, Nazi
I mean,
Germany.
Germany.
Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
We split them with the Russians and the Americans, and Russians split the former. And this is a big, like a lot of like, certain leagues were pissed off about this because these were not necessarily good dudes that kind of got a pardon
Right.
for the atrocities they did, because we're like, space race, we need the Nazis. And
Right.
we kind of like, took I can't remember the famous guy. But Braun, Braun was his last name, but Braun was
Braun or something.
yeah. So he was the one the Americans got, and apparently we were good at delving out our Nazi scientists, and we gave the Russians the bad ones. Or well, they're all bad, but the ones that weren't as
With the
smart.
worst ones. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones who only had, the PhD because they kind of made it through. Braun, on the other hand, he was like head of his class. So,
Right. Yeah. So we got
yeah.
the best guy.
Yeah, we got the best Nazis. And so,
But do you think though, I mean, Germans follow rules, right? So I
yeah,
wonder if that's enough to debunk it, because these are people that when they cross the street,
yeah,
they stop no matter what the sign, if it says don't walk, they don't walk, right? They
yeah,
actually follow it. And once a German was asked, like, hey, what would you do if you needed to go somewhere and you didn't have a driver's license? And they're like, you can't drive without a license. Like that's their answer, right? So like
yeah.
they are such rule followers. Would they ever have rebelled enough after World War II? Because then, they would just follow the rules that were in place then, right? Wouldn't that have prevented
I don't know. Well, I mean, the
yeah.
thing is, but
Because
they
they
had
were
already,
defeated. Yeah.
well, they left, they went, they built the obviously they would have built this space home uh before, like probably in the 30s.
Oh,
And
so
so they was already built, and then
already
they
built.
then Hitler just was like, hey dudes, let's go up there. uh they want to kill me. I'm gonna live out the rest of my life
Right.
on the moon,
Wow.
which he had some ailments, which would have only, I think they said he was only going to live another 10-15 years anyway,
Right.
which that's still a pretty long time for a guy
Long
who's
time for
trying to
him.
annihilate a whole people
Plan.
group.
Yeah.
um so so he went there, and everyone knows he ended up in Venezuela. So, which we'll get into that story too, because that's
So I
down
think
the
you
road.
just debunked it. Is he's in Venezuela, not the moon?
Yeah, I just
No.
debunked it. I don't think he went to the moon. But
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are your thoughts? Do you think, again, it would, do you think on the dark side of the moon, do you think someday we're gonna go up there and there's gonna be a Nazi flag up
No,
there on
I don't think a Nazi flag. If anything, it would surprise me if if we put something on there or another country did, right? Like,
Mhm.
and I don't think there's people living there, but maybe we put like a signals outpost, or I mean, who knows,
Mhm.
right? If I had to guess, if there was going to be something there, it'd be something like that, right? That we put.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So you
We
don't
just
think
didn't
the
tell
not
people that we fired this big rocket. And I mean, I wonder if we haven't put, because we put, spy satellites and stuff like that up all the time, right? So maybe,
true? Yeah, I mean, we're always launching stuff out there, and
yeah,
Starlink's always up there scaring people.
maybe
Yeah.
Elon's there on the dark side of the moon. Maybe
Yeah.
he visits. I don't
So
know.
so so basically, what are your thoughts on what is the moon?
I think it's basically it was what I understand, it's an offshoot of our planet, right? From the early
Mhm.
formation that kind of was molten at one point, and now
Got
it's
cold.
got cold. It's just rock. Yeah.
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 And supposedly, the why the Russians and Chinese want to get there, there's some sort of fuel source up there of
Oh,
some
okay.
kind.
I
I
didn't
was
know.
reading.
Yeah.
So
Are there
maybe
rare
they
earths up
may
there? Rare
I
earth
don't know, maybe they want to, maybe they drill baby drill on the
Right.
moon,
I don't-
and there could be an oil source of some kind up there. I have no
Yeah.
idea. Maybe
Yeah.
I just was reading that there's some kind of, and I think that's what's ramping up these countries going back to the moon recently, is they
Yeah.
realize, oh, there's something going on here. There's something up.
Yeah.
Um,
I got to think there's some minerals and stuff
now,
there that could be useful.
now this is not really something to debunk, but I found it interesting, is that they say that the moon is changing colors. Have you read that?
No.
That it is becoming reddish, rust colored, because there's some kind of material that even in space it changes color. And over time, they said, I don't know how long they said it's going to happen, but over time, the moon will become this reddish color.
Like
And I think they said if you look at it, a full moon, if you get telescope, if you look at, I guess, what we would consider the polar north and
right.
south, you will see the coloration has changed and it's more red.
Not heard of it.
And what I find interesting, and this is going to get biblical on you, is in the Bible, it says that in the last days, the moon will become as blood, meaning it'll be a reddish moon.
Oh,
Now, a lot of people always thought it meant there would be like a lunar eclipse.
right. Like we had
Yeah,
this week. Right.
but it also talks about a solar eclipse happening.
Right.
Well, I don't think a lunar and solar eclipse can happen in the same day.
Right.
But if the moon is actually turning red, There you go. Perhaps
Perhaps it's
the
the end.
red, the moon turns red, and then when it's fully red, there's going to be a solar eclipse, and we know it's the end of the world.
Wow.
I'm throwing that out there.
I mean, I think you should. I think that's of the theories, that seems the most likely. So
Yeah. So it's some kind of big rock, and I'm
maybe.
I don't want to go full in on that because I like I said, I don't want like the flat earthers mad at me, and I don't want the hollow earther or hollow mooners mad at me. I don't know how many there are out there, but I don't want anyone mad at me. I'm just giving out theories
Yeah.
and getting your take on them.
Yeah, there's a lot of constituents out there, right?
Yeah.
That we got to be concerned about. But yeah, I think it's just a rock. I hate to say it, but it's a rock that maybe someone's put some high-tech stuff on it. I mean,
Yeah.
I would love to know that. What I do want is I want a survey done of the moon. I
Yeah.
want to see those pictures again. I don't think we've seen those in a while, right?
Yeah.
So
I want to see it. Yeah, and I want someone to explain why it doesn't seem to rotate. It's always facing us.
I want to know that too.
Because it would have to be rotating in order to always face us, wouldn't it? To all on every side of the earth, like
Yeah, because it's going around, but the Earth's going around,
right.
right?
And so it's
Yeah.
rotating at the exact same, but we never see the other side. So I don't
Never see the other
understand.
side. It's that we should have somebody on about. That's a very
Yeah.
interesting question.
And I'm not, but not Neil Neil
Yeah, not
TG.
Tyson. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have Mike Tyson come
Yeah.
on.
Maybe he can. He's a smarter guy than you think, and he probably knows the answer.
He probably he
So
punched and it
yeah,
stopped rotating. That was the
yeah.
answer.
There you go. Or Chuck Norris did it.
Chuck Norris probably did it. Yeah, he
Yeah.
does not do push-ups. He does earth downs.
Yeah.
That's
And
what I've
he probably just looked at it and said, "Stop moving." And it was like, "Oh,
Oh yeah, we're done.
yeah." So next week,
Next week.
what do you want? Now I have something I would like to talk to, but if you have something else you'd want to.
I have nothing. So I wanted to hear what you're thinking.
Now I had texted you about this individual. The guy's name is Dr. Louis Jolion West. And that's all. I don't want to give too much away to the listeners, but that is who I want to talk about because his story is wild.
Let's do it.
So,
We
and
need a wild story.
it's one of these conspiracies or this guy is involved in multiple wild events that makes you wonder what part did he play in it?
Okay.
Like to the point that you're like, wait a minute, how's this guy involved in all of this? And he's not really involved in all of this.
Is he basically like Forrest Gump? Like he lived through major events and
I would say he is like an evil Forrest Gump in that he didn't just stumble upon these events. He was orchestrating some of these events. So,
oh my gosh. All right. We have to know. And our listeners, I don't think they should look up anything before the episode.
no, yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
can if they want. I mean, there is a
Yeah.
recent Netflix documentary, and that's how I first heard about this guy.
Oh,
And
wow.
then I started reading more about him, and I'm like, holy cow,
Yeah,
this is ridiculous.
it
Because
is.
like the and I don't want to say which Netflix because I don't want to give away any of it, but
Right.
they just were focusing on one event and they kind of just blurbed about these other things.
Right.
And then when I started, I was like, dude, that's this whole documentary should have just been about him and not this
Right.
event you're talking about.
Oh my
Like
gosh.
so.
All right. I'm excited. This is going to be one of the best episodes we've ever had coming up.
I hope so, yeah.
Mystery topic that most people don't know about.
Yeah,
But should.
we're gonna bust something out that most people probably have never heard of. A guy that he's dead now, so it doesn't matter what we say about him.
Oh yeah. I might have some words.
Yeah, you might want to throw down and maybe his ghost comes and then we go back to the ghost episode. Tom got beat up by a guy whose middle name is Jolion.
Jolion.
Do you really want to?
to?
Yeah, but do you
Yeah.
want to be like known as a guy who got beat up by Jolion? I mean, that's like going back to like preschool
Embarrassing.
days and
Yeah.
got beat up on the playground.
Yeah. We don't want that. We don't
Yeah.
want that. All right. I'll be nice to him.
Yeah, be nice to the dead guy.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I think we've kind of gone over all the conspiracies about the moon. There's probably others out there, but they weren't to me as well known or interesting.
Right. They're not
But these
prominent.
were the most interesting ones,
Right.
and so
We stick to the mainstream conspiracies, not
yeah,
right.
not those crazy fringe people.
Right.
Like, I mean, there is one that the Chinese a long time ago believed a rabbit lived on the moon, but that's so old, and we know there's no rabbits on the moon.
There's no rabbits. It's
Yeah,
all
we would have seen it by
wouldn't it?
now.
Yeah.
And but there you go. So there you have it. We've done it. So I guess
Another successful explanation to the general public. It's a public service. We should probably, the
Yeah.
more you know, we should
Yeah.
probably come across.
And then like have the star come by. But
Yeah,
there you
we
go.
need-
The star links go by. There you go.
Ooh, there you go. That was
No, man, I doubt Elon would let us. He'd
He-
come in
yeah.
and he'd come in and cut our show.
He would, yeah.
Yeah.
Or ask us for 5 things we talked about in last week.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. But I could give him 5 things. So we talked about 5 moon things today. So,
Yeah, we're good. We're
good for another week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sweet. Well, there you go.
Yeah,
Those
thanks,
watching
everybody.
us. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you.